I'm watching the See the BS this morning, and I'm listening to what these people are saying, as usual. Um, it starts off with an image of Port Jefferson, New York, on Earth Cam. No idea what that's in relation to necessarily or who runs an Earth Cam. Then it goes into a Guyanan story of someone that's here, not necessarily in Port Jeff, but in New York. And I'm listening. His name is Blitz, and I'm thinking of roast beef ball. They have a move that's called a blitz. Then later on in the program, they do this thing where they follow Kanye West, and he's got some rock a feller in New York City connection. Now, I don't follow his whole career either. I only heard like one or two of his songs. The Blitz guy, I never even heard of. Um, so, and something with Kanye. I mean, when I was a kid, there was something about cooties. Like, you don't want to catch the cooties. And I'm like, what does that mean? What is a cootie? Like, and there was like no explanation. Kids just say these things. Kids say the darndest things. Uh huh. And I'm like, out in Long Island, and I'm like, what's a cootie? Like, what does that mean? And then they'd laugh and then they'd like run away. And I'm like, yeah, you humans are like really weird. This morning, I found out what a cootie is. It has something to do with Kanye West. More like, I mean, kept in isolation from all of this like melodrama that's like going on in like why are there more black millionaires today, and why am I starving and unable to even find a mate? Just curious. Why am I locked in while all of this is like thriving? Just curious. So then I'm thinking of, I went downstairs to speak to Lewis. Now I'm following the trend of the See the BS. My father is following some wee BS in webs, and he wanted to show me it this morning. So as I'm sitting there and my eyes are glazing over, my eyes are rolling back in my head, like, I get biz connection is important. I know it's incredibly important. I just don't want to stay sick and in front of a computer screen for my whole entire life. I really wanted more out of this world that and network than sitting here. So as I'm bored out of my skull, I see my son holding the West Highland White Terrier and surrounded by other West Highland White Terriers. And then I see a handcrafted artist piece of work my grandfather put my name on. And in his wisdom of he literally whittled me a family tree with encrypt on the family tree, and then he budded two off of the family tree possibilities. And then he used this gold paint, which I know has incredible significance in the Cattaruzza bloodline. And there's, because he was, I mean, like at this point, if I speak of him, he's like a dead language. He's, I have a whole artwork collection of a dead, lost language of somebody who went unacknowledged his entire life, as far as I know. Um, and it loses its significance on Lewis completely, I feel. Um, I can read some of it in planetary alignment and like black hole theory and seeing his artwork and the colors that created it, I can see and invent the correct drawn conclusions in this dead language, but translated into a American tongue. Um, and it's just, why is that not worth value? I don't in this humanness that I don't understand. I mean, for things and for investments, I thought for the correct collector, that would have been incredibly significant and of utmost value as far as chattel goes. Um, Again, I'm really confused about this world in New York and their priorities that have been sought after, I suppose. This is what this first piece looks like as she introduces him. So now these artisans have this verbose acknowledgement, Emmys, Grammys, awards, things like an inside show business, lots of connections, and they have like some agency or sponsor that, but then there's like this undertone of still not grateful enough, or like still seethingly angry at the people who gave them the opportunity. I hear it every now and again come out, and I'm just like, wow, that's really interesting, because the same people that you quietly hate for giving you the opportunity, I quietly hate because they overlooked me completely.
Growing up in the West African nation of Ghana, Blitz Bazawale first got interested in American culture through rap music. Once on American shores, he became a cultural juggernaut all his own. He's earned acclaim as an artist, a musician, a film director, and was awarded a Guggenheim Fellowship for his exceptional creativity.
Now, this is what's interesting. The Guggenheim Fellowship. How does one pursue that, or is it invitational? Does Guggenheim pursue you? Do you need to contact Guggenheim? How did he receive it? I know that there was a special meeting right before I left Bayside to go to Lloyd Harbor Elementary, right? The week before, 2 weeks before school started. And I met someone on the playground at Guggenheim. I think there was a photo that was taken that day as well. And then there was a walk, just the two of us in the wooded trail. I wrote about it in a diary that someone later asked me for a copy of that I no longer have access to. Um, and so I find that fascinating. But again, like, how does this opportunity find these people and they become so successful when I don't really need the glitz and the glam of like this big screen, whatever. I just wanted someone's hand to hold and to be able to follow and group together and have a community, or like small clan, like family table, like the Reagans in the Blue Bloods, whatever. I don't even have that.
And if that's not enough, he's now the author of a new book, destined to become a miniseries.
And the scent of burnt flowers. Now, if that's just not interesting.
I've been trying to tell one story, which is a story of how the continent of Africa and the larger diaspora
In this part of America, I've never even heard of diaspar. They did not teach it. There's been no national security briefing of the children of non familial African descent. Not they've had civil wars there. Here's why they might hate you. Here's why they might track you. Here's why they might try cursing you with whatever. There's been nothing. Puts me in a really dangerous position, wouldn't you think?
Connect and sometimes disconnect.
For nearly 2 decades, Blitz Bazaoule's been telling those stories as Blitz the ambassador, Blitz the painter, Blitz the filmmaker.
Now, I don't know roast beef ball, football roast beef ball, but I'm pretty sure I do know that one move in however I learn whatever, when the machine breaks. It's something that the quarterback doesn't throw the ball. He holds it and then he runs. So now I find that incredibly interesting if I change the characteristics and I put it into whatever this is. Does nobody have a meeting with the rest of the team to inform them what a blitz looks like? I'm just curious. Again, I don't have access to a quarterback that I can speak to in I've arrived at a certain level and now I have questions.
And now is the novelist through his transcontinental thriller set in the 1960s.
The Scent of Burnt Flowers follows the journey of Melvin and Bernadette, an African-American couple who, after an incident in the South, find themselves on the run, pursued by a persistent FBI agent. They decide to flee to Ghana because Melvin's former college friend is the current president of the country.
That leader was Kwame Nkrumah, the first president and prime minister of Ghana. So why Kwame Nkrumah specifically?
Yes. Well, one, because I'm originally from Ghana, and I'd grown up around kind of this mythical figure who had liberated Ghana from the jaws of the British Empire. I've always...
So there's some secret seething hatred of white people, even though he seems very Americanized and able to hide it. Because I know there's others. I walked on the street last night and I got screamed at, over someone's shoulder. They're racist. And I just kept walking. I thought to myself, shitbag.
Wanted to figure out how to tell that story, but through different eyes.
It's already been optioned by FX.
I know that the world is rejecting globally this idea of who belongs and who doesn't. And all voices are participating, queer voices are participating, black voices, women's voices. You're seeing it happen in real time, but you're also seeing the fallout in real.
See, if these civil wars happened in Africa and the children in Next Generation America are born and their family members did not participate, they're not history up to date, they weren't participants, but now you've got these socio-political components moving offshore of Africa into America and back and forth, coming up with their own agenda, their own quantum entanglement, whatever. And then they're holding the unsuspecting Americans that know nothing about Africa, know nothing about their civil wars, know nothing about their secret hatred of white people, but yet they're purposely hurting the easy targets. At what level does something else kick in and say, no, this is unacceptable, you can't hurt them?
In real time, and the need to hold on to this bastion, something that is completely archaic and has no room in today's world.
Baza Ule's breakout came through his 2018 debut feature film, The Burial of Kojo.
The story of my childhood is a strange one.
A tale of a missing Ghanaian gold miner and his daughter's magical search to find him.
So strange that most people find it impossible to believe.
For me, the conundrum has always been, how is Africa so rich but so poor? Like, that's it's been the larger question. I've never been able to do the math, understand how that's possible. In the Burial of Kojo, it was just about how this gold mining community.
I'm not interested in this story. I'm not. It's important in certain contexts, but I'm not getting from this conversation what I need to know as to why the Americans have failed me in keeping me safe while allowing this bridge between Guyana and America after some civil war and failing to educate the children growing up in America as to what other people's hatred may be towards you in order to keep yourself safe. So now they have this really big visual art thing, big names like Beyonce's in there. Here we are.
An incredible response, and that's what Beyonce saw, and I found myself making Black is King with her.
More stuff doesn't hit my doorstep or my doormat. I don't hear about this stuff.
Beyonce's 2020 visual album based on The Lion King. Why you?
Beyonce obviously is a master and visual master and knows the medium of visual storytelling and the power of it. I think the Burial of Kojo was strong at, was just very strong visual motifs. I feel like that was the draw.
Before Baza Ule moved to America to go to Ohio's Kent State University, his first foray into American culture was through hip-hop.
Hip-hop culture was the first thing that kind of came to us. And specifically, Public Enemy coming to Ghana in 1992. That was seminal. That changed everything.
So they've labeled themselves New York City's Public Enemy #1. Okay, like that message I received. That's easy to translate. But what I don't understand is this underseething storyline that nobody taught in this American revolting scenery that's like sprung out.
So when Public Enemy came, that was like the physical manifestation. Here are these guys that look like us, hell, that are dressing like us. They had all this stuff, and the world was listening. It has really been the source for me as a creative, is this idea of making something out of nothing. So when I talk about how I made The Burial of Kojo, that's as hip-hop as it gets.
Now he's bringing new life to a classic, directing the forthcoming musical film, The Color Purple, alongside producers Oprah Winfrey, Steven Spielberg, and Quincy Jones. So what is it about this story that resonates?
It endures. What it is,
Again, more stuff I'm not interested in. Now, here's this Kanye West who has some rock, a feller, whatever with. I mean, like, I know growing up, it used to be like, turn the lights off. What do you think you are, married to a Rockefeller? Like, that was like a household saying. But and that was on the Irish side. Big difference.
Kanye West is no stranger to tabloid headlines, but his controversies can sometimes overshadow.
Now, I don't listen to a lot of his music. There's with all of the artists that were on the radio, there's like 1 or 2 popular songs and the rest is totally garbage because the message is for some other socio-political triumph and burning bridges and so on and so forth and causing strife. So I don't know his entire music library. I only know the songs that are significant within New York, within the solar system and universe that I exist.
His achievements. West is considered one of the most influential hip-hop musicians of all time, winner of 24 Grammy Awards, with more than 160 million records sold. Recently, he became the subject of a 3-part documentary
Now, I find this interesting. Gene Yoon. Yesterday, Lewis went to something in New York City, and there was a very specific person who just won some award at a Manhattan Film Festival, and he wanted to take a photo with Lewis with the award. And he also allowed Lewis to take a photo of his business card. And that was silversounds.us. It was Corey Choi, I think. Again, I don't know in the wide world of whatever goes on in New York. But I thought it really interesting. He came home and he was letting me into his world of what he experienced. Yesterday, I was supposed to go with him, but I don't have attire to attend these things at the moment. And I've also got some of the medical issues going on. So I stayed closer to Bayside.
streaming on Netflix. The makers of Genius followed West for more than 2 decades, from his roots as a hungry music producer in Chicago to the pinnacle of fame and fortune. Sharika Duncan spoke to the filmmakers about them.
Now, I think that very interesting because they show him Rockefeller in New York, but yet the announcer guy is saying Chicago. Wait a minute, what? In chic ago? I'm just curious.
About that journey.
Y'all might as well get the music ready because it's finna take a while.
Kanye West always knew he would be a star.
Man, I ain't saying she a gold digger. She ain't messing with no broke.
He's won 24 Grammys.
He is one of hip-hop's brightest stars. Kanye West is adding author to his resume.
Influenced a culture and has never been afraid to speak his mind, no matter how provocative the statement.
George Bush doesn't care about black people.
But before he was a household name,
Yo, I want to send a shout to 87th Street outfit, my man John.
he was a young music producer in Chicago.
Well, that's really interesting. 87 Street, John. I have the St. John's Day pin. I have a family tree my grandfather whittled for me out of wood. And the date on the bottom of it, which I'll show in a second, is 1987, which is the direct inverse of the year I arrived.
Michael Jordan got this rap game locked, you can call the boy.
With a bigger vision, one that Cootie Simmons could see early
I
on.
just kept running into him coming up to the barbershop playing these beats, so I'm like, oh, this dude talented. I knew he had talent.
It was around that time.
Now I'm finding out in my 4th decade, 3rd year, what a cootie is. And actually in German, in Germano, Tedesco, it's ku, and then die is die. It's the. So the coup. Oh, here we are. So you don't want to catch the coup? Yeah, right. Yeah, no, got that. So what's going on in New York?
That time that Cootie hosted a community access show called Channel Zero.
I watch Channel Zero, son.
His friend and barbershop owner, Danny Sorge, came up with the idea.
In the beginning, it was easy to pick Cootie to host Channel Zero because he was fearless in front of the camera on the microphone. And then as we got into filming of Channel Zero in the beginning,
Really interesting. My father was asked and paid to film on Channel 12. He said it was Channel 12. He said it was interview thing that they had spots for between the 1 and the 4. I know that's significant. He's like, he was confused by the story. I quietly laughed in silence, knowing my grandfather's dead language or part of it, and knowing that my father is so caught in a riptide.
He proved to be fearless behind the camera as well. Certain situations or when he felt something needed to be filmed, he had no problem picking up the camera and capturing the imagery we needed.
What was it about the camera that you couldn't put it down?
Man, I guess I was just enjoying it was the shots. I don't know. I didn't even know what I was doing because I didn't go to film school.
Then we got my man Kanye.
But he knew there was something special about Kanye.
You seen his passion, and he just loved the camera. So I'm like, oh, this is the perfect person to document. You know what I mean? I just knew he was gonna blow up.
At every chance, Cootie began documenting Kanye's life.
Now that's interesting. I had never even heard of Kanye until one of the songs came out that were significant and important to record keeping and just how abusive New York has been towards my person and position in this whatever's going on for nuclear scientists.
When the producer turned rapper decided to leave Chicago to pursue his dreams in New York, Cootie fought.
This is where it says Rockefeller Office, New York City. So that gets confusing where this Chicago reference is in the quiet, unspoken journey of what did they do. Now, he's going to say, he said, the guy who followed him, he's like, I never knew moving from Chicago to New York that he'd be a billionaire and that he'd try to run for president. He tried to run for president? When was this? President of what?
In Chicago and follow him, not knowing where it would lead.
I mean, we just really moved on faith. His music and the way he rap, he's going to win Grammys. But I never thought that he would get to, would be a billionaire and run for president and all the other things that he did.
So somebody invested in this Kanye guy and already bought his career and his ego inside of the Emmys, Grammys, Oscars, and Tonys in the EGOT or in the ego. I just want to make sure super ego and the id in ID. I mean, this gets like real.
One person who never doubted her son's gift was Donda West, who passed away in 2007.
I would like to congratulate you on the good job that you did with me.
Cootie captured the.
So he went from 0 to a billionaire. I can't even afford an education level. I'm RH negative. I can't even find a proper mate. And this guy is doing billions? Really? Where the heck did the tribe and my people go? I'm just curious. Now, this is interesting because now there's this rally for Roe versus Wade. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, now, is Wade, is that stand for white, Anglo, Danish, like European? I'm just curious because that seems really important for my person.
Good morning. It is June 25th, 2022. Welcome to CBS Saturday Morning. Roe versus Wade overturned. After nearly 50 years, the Supreme Court ends a woman's constitutional right to an abortion. As states race to solidify their laws, we'll have the latest on the fallout from this historic decision.
Pride Festival shooting. At least 2 people were killed and nearly 24 others were injured when a gunman opened fire ahead of a gay pride celebration in Norway. We'll have the latest.
Now, this is amazing. They actually displayed a news story from Norway in a place called Oslo. I have never in my life heard them. I think just once, just recently, they mentioned Norway, but for the most part, they don't even mention the country over here in New York on the news station.
Ready to sign. Congress passes its most significant gun reform bill in decades. We'll tell you what's in it and when the president is expected.
And the cost of inflation. We take a ride to see what's driving the biggest rise in inflation in 4 decades. And we'll talk to a former.
And like, this is all like busy and distracting work, I'm assuming, to keep the media stations afloat and some storyline, whatever. But I have no idea. I'm not a part of it. This is my particular square, rectangular pattern that they use in this area, although they don't use it all the time. And this is the piece of ancestral artwork, one piece. I mean, I have other pieces that my grandfather handmade and would give to me on my birthdays. He always had the most interesting things that he would spend time and think of me and build me something unusual. And then it was just like, it is so unlike Linda and Lou and everything else in my world. So it always had this like memory that it made. This is one of the pieces. This says 1987. It's a piece of wood. He has my name on it. Again, I don't know if this is totem, but I do notice that the sticks here, there's a gamma, and then there's a more, for me, this is a gamma with a gold with 2 lines for SUV. And this is more of a tripod because it's more of a geometrically spaced correctly, but it also has the gold dot. And then some of the other markings of importance. I know he left this for me in crypt. I know somebody knows how to read it better than I do. I just don't know how to find that person, since I think it's few and far between in private collections. It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole, Cattaruzza. It's Earth, Solar System, Milky Way, Universe, Galaxy is broken, and it's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361. Lewis is probably the easier contact at this point. I'm a little harder to reach because I've got layers of, let's just call it Chipotle at the moment. But things find their way to me through him. It's June, I think it's 25th today, 2022.